Yeah.
All right.
You should be fine.
Okay, excellent.
Hey, Gail.
Hey, Vicki. How are you tonight?
Good. Martin is on the call. He said he's having some difficulties with his camera and he's only going to be able to participate using the phone.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't think you, as long as, I think we were going to have a quorum, no problem. So I don't really know. I know it's not best practice, but I think for one person, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I understand people want to see everybody, but I'm willing to, if you can't get online, can we kick you off the meeting? I don't think so.
Right.
So,
And like I said, as long as everybody else is online, I don't really,
yeah,
doesn't really seem like that big of a deal to me.
we should maybe reach out in the future and see if there's a way we can fix it, but I'm not going to do that tonight.
Well, what he said is that it was kind of unusual. He's coming home from an unexpected work thing.
Okay.
So it's just not his normal,
Okay.
Hey, Sajabu.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can,
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Oh, I can't type.
Hi, Vicki, it's Trish. Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
So can I.
Okay, I cannot hear you. That's going to be a problem.
You can't hear me?
No, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, hold on. How about now? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I can hear you. Good. Am I too loud or not loud enough?
Your volume control does not affect your microphone.
What does it say?
I said your volume control doesn't affect your microphone.
My
Yeah,
volume control does not affect the microphone. That you do, right, Gail? Okay, so you'll handle it. Okay, thank you.
You sound good, so set the volume for your
Okay.
comfort level.
Okay.
I just love having 15 attachments. I'm referring to our agenda tonight.
Gail, for me to hear you, it's low.
Turn up your volume.
I'm up to 100.
Okay.
Gail is kind of a soft talker, so you just have to.
When it's important for me to talk, I'll try to raise my voice just a little bit.
Okay.
I have noticed that about you, Gail.
Yeah, I don't put the microphone right here in front of my mouth. Let's see, we have 5 minutes.
Huh?
So we have 5 minutes. Is that any better as far as visual?
I can hear you fine.
I said, is that better visually?
If you need to, you can come up to the 6th floor and present. You don't have to present downstairs. If you're having problems hearing, might be able to hear a little better upstairs.
Welcome, Daryl.
Welcome. Oh, well, thank you, Gail.
Stajavu has disappeared. Oh, there she is. Okay. Martin is on the phone tonight rather than being in person. I don't know if you can hear us, Martin. Hopefully you can.
Yeah, I can. Do you see my photo? I kind of have I'm back and forth. See, I'm physically present, but I need to put my photo up. So I'm there. I can hear everyone.
Okay. As long as you unmute when you need to talk, that'll work perfectly.
No problem.
Hello, Manuel.
Hey, good afternoon.
How are you today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Welcome, Marisha.
Hello, hi everyone.
And you do have a quorum now, Gail, so.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute to go yet. Welcome, Sam.
Somebody say welcome, Sam.
I did.
Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Gale. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Straight out scribes. It's the job. All right. Everybody looks quiet here. Patricia, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing, Sam?
I look at Patricia. She's ready to present. She's ready to present.
We are live, so
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll keep track.
we will call the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Commission meeting to order for September 1st, 2021. Because the meetings are currently being held remotely, options for comments include emailing public comments at shra.org, and they will be read into the record during the meeting. Comments may also be made by phone by dialing 970-1444 to comment during the citizens' comments agenda item. Please call after the roll call. To comment on specific agenda item, please call at the beginning of that agenda item. We request all commissioners and staff participants keep their microphones muted unless they are speaking. As we go through, I'll be asking for comments and looking for waving hands and rather than just waiting for lights to light up. Okay, Mickey, roll call, please.
Amanpour,
Present.
Morgan,
Here.
Osmany,
Here?
Ross,
Here,
Schumacher Hodge,
Here?
Sajabu,
Here.
Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
present.
You do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody have changes to the agenda as it was presented? Seeing none, the agenda is set as presented.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes,
I just want to let you know that we're having a few technical difficulties with the camera, so we're working on it, but I can hear you and I'm here.
okay, excellent. So we see your logo up there, so we know you're there. So anyone interested in public comments, please submit those into public comments at shra.org or call in at 888-970-1444. Vicki, could you please read the public comment paragraph for us?
Certainly, and I do have one public comment that I received to read into the record.
Okay.
While the commission welcomes and encourages participation in commission meetings, please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. SHRA provides opportunities for the public to address the commission at this time in order to listen to opinions regarding non-agendized matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of SHRA. Consistent with the Brown Act, the public comment periods on the agenda are not intended to be question and answer periods or conversations with commission members. Members of the public with questions are encouraged to contact staff before or after the meeting. Members of the public wishing to provide comment should either email comments to publiccomments@shra.org or present them verbally by calling 888-970-1444.
And
So this is a comment that we received earlier today via email. Dear SHRA Commission members, my name is Dwen Jiang. I would like to ask you a question of which many other landlords have the same and helplessly seek for your solution. I am a new owner of a property since April 14th of 2021, a three-unit property of the 4 units are under Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency, Section 8 Subsidy Payment Assistance. As of this date, I have not received any payments from SHRA. I have called numerous times and I've worked with 3 different SHRA workers. Paperwork has been submitted since May 1st of 2021, repeatedly asked for again and again. Finally, on July 26th, it was confirmed that it was all done. Contracts with Section 8 were signed, direct deposits been set up, and payments will be sent out. But as of today, as of this date, not even 1 cent has been received. I called in and emailed workers several times since July 26th. Workers can only advise that someone could call them back, and no one has ever called back. My emails have no response. No one is able to escalate, and no one is able to look into the case and solve the problem and send out the payments that are owed. Where is the manager? Who is the one to escalate to solve this problem? To this date, SHRA is behind 4 payments, June, July, August, September, for 2 of the units, and 5 payments for 1 unit, May, June, July, August, September. I am out of options and not knowing what else to do to get payments from you. Can you give me a solution and solve my case? So I did receive this earlier today, and you know, thank you for your comment, and please be assured that I've passed this comment along to SHRA staff. I already have passed this along because I got it quite early, and they will be determining how best to address the issues that have been raised, and if appropriate, SHRA staff will reach out to the commenter directly to further inquire about the concerns.
All right. Thank you, Vicki. Is there any more?
That is it.
Okay. We're having a little bit of static with your audio there. So maybe the whole system's having technical difficulties. Anyway, we will move ahead. Approval of the minutes from August 18th. Are there any corrections to the minutes as submitted? Seeing no hands up. The minutes will be approved as submitted without objection. I need to pop up one more window here. Just a second. Okay. That will take us on to our first item, public hearing.
Hi, Commissioner Morgan. We have our 2 staff members are going to present, Patricia Simpson and Maria Abdallas. I don't know who's going first. Is it Maria or Trish? Who's going? Oh, okay, so first we'll go with Trish and then Maria. Trish is going to talk about the public housing plan, and then Maria will talk about it from our housing choice voucher side of the shop. So
I need to say the public hearing is now open.
okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. There you go, Trish. Take it away.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Morgan and members of the commission. My name is Patricia Simpson, and I'm one of the management analysts for the Housing Authority. This evening, my colleague Maria Abdallas from the Housing Choice Voucher Program and I will be presenting the proposed significant changes to the 2022 Public Housing Agency Plan, which includes the admissions and continued occupancy policy and the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. The Public Housing Agency Plan is a comprehensive guide to the Housing Authority's policies, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and objectives that are consistent with the Housing Authority's overall goal, which is to improve our operating efficiencies and service to our residents. The 2 proposed changes to the 2022 admissions and continued occupancy policy include: 1, the clarification of language regarding individuals who are authorized to provide verification of a resident's disability per the 504 guidelines. And 2, we are redefining the members of the Reasonable Accommodation Committee quorum. This completes the list of our significant changes to the 2022 admissions and continued occupancy policy that we are requesting at this time. And tonight we are asking for your consideration of these changes. Since July 19th, all the documents regarding this request have been available to the public and no comments have been received. Recently, we consulted with the Resident Advisory Board and received their letter of support. We also met with Legal Services of Northern California regarding our proposed changes. And this afternoon, we received the letter from Legal Services of Northern California with no comments to our proposed significant changes to the admissions and continued occupancy policy. So I thank you for your time on this one. And now I'm going to pass it over to Maria from the Housing Choice Voucher Program to present the proposed significant changes to the administrative plan.
Good evening, Chair Morgan and members of the Commission. My name is Maria Dallas, and I am the Program Integrity Analyst for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Today, I am presenting the changes proposed for the 2022 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. The proposed changes include the following: amending criminal screening criteria, offering alternative methods for in-person interviews to clients, allowing the Housing Authority to implement new voucher awards using HUD guidelines, and updating the next administrative plan, adding criteria for qualification for the new Emergency Housing Vouchers Program, amending language regarding HUD required briefings for current regulations, clarifying owner interest in assisted units, clarifying the Housing Authority negotiates rents without the family requesting to negotiate rent reasonableness, adding clarification for the new landlord incentive program, changing to benefit clients to retain the same payment standard if there is a decrease in the small area fair market rent payment standard, allowing clients additional time to repay debts, adding clarifying language that when the client moves within the same complex, they must complete the entire move process, extending the time of notification of informal hearing procedures, amending the shared housing parameters per current regulations, adding clarifying language that the Housing Authority may have a dedicated waitlist or accept referrals for mod rehab contracted units, removing security deposit requirements for deposits, being that these are based on local laws and owner determination, amending the enhanced voucher requirements per current regulation, updating project-based voucher program based on our current policies, updating the reasonable accommodation policies, and updating the language access plan. The Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan provides a comprehensive guide to the Housing Authority's policies, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and goals consistent with the Housing Authority's overall goal to improve operating efficiencies and service to residents. We did receive a letter back from the Resident Advisory Board endorsing these changes. Public comments and additionally a comment letter was received from Legal Services of Northern California, which we will respond at our next commission meeting. Thank you for your time this evening.
Just as to reiterate, especially for our new commissioners, each year we go through this process of updating our plan. You know, as Trish and Maria pointed out, these are the plans that really dictate the policies that we operate under for both of those programs for our residents. And then we go through a process. We work with the Resident Advisory Board. We do outreach and have extensive discussions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, right. And so when we bring this before you, it's what we call a two-step process. So we have it here tonight to be heard and have discussion, and then we'll come back at the next meeting for adoption, so that in case there are some other issues or anything comes up, that we can really work on and resolve those between now and the next meeting. So I just wanted to give just more of a general overview for those who is your first go around with going through this particular process that started how many months ago? I think you said it in your introduction, Trish. I think it was
July 19th opened our public comment, but we began the review process almost 6 months ago.
Yeah, 6 months ago. So this is the culmination of a lot of discussion and outreach and review. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Morgan.
All right, thank you. So any questions or comments of commissioners?
This is Martin Ross.
Yes,
I appreciate all the inclusion of stakeholders, and thank you for the explanation of how the process works. I really enjoy the fact that stakeholders who are residents as well as outside advocates have the opportunity to comment, and that makes me feel better also about the process with respect to how things are moving forward. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And Marisha.
Yes, thank you for the explanation about the process, because I am one of the new commissioners, so that was helpful. I guess, is there a live document that we can refer to that has the change diff on it from like last year's, or like how do we make sure we see like the most active document until the next meeting?
It's actually on SHRA's website. Somebody
Okay.
have the link. It's under resident.
It's attached in the staff report
Yeah,
as
for
well.
1 year.
Isn't that correct, Trish and Maria?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I know it's kind of a big document, but it
It's
is
huge.
one of the attachments, and then it'll show what the previous language, and then it'll have a red line of what we're changing it to. And then underneath that is kind of an explanation. But I think the larger, like whole ACOP and everything is on the website.
Okay. Thank you.
The entire thing is, and I think more than 1 year is up there.
I think so.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to do some research, I have about 10 years of annual plans here on my shelf. If somebody really wants to delve into it, I'll make those available. So, Daryl.
Yes, thank you. How long does one sit on the active waiting list before they're granted assistance?
You want me to take that, or you go ahead, Maria?
No, that's fine. The time varies, to be honest with you. It depends on what vacancies we have, and because different wait lists serve different groups. So it depends on if you're on a project-based wait list and how many vacancies we have at the time. So sometimes you can get selected from a wait list fairly quickly, in the sense with less than a year. Other times it does take years. We try to not open the wait lists that have a lot of people, then we're not processing as quickly, so that people aren't discouraged waiting on the wait list for multiple years.
Mm-hmm. Also,
Okay.
to Commissioner Wu, I know that sometimes, and it may have even been mentioned recently in the newspaper, where there'll be individuals who indicate that they have been on the wait list, for 10, or even sometimes I've even heard some people say 20 years. I've been on the wait list for a very long time. And whenever I see those articles in the newspaper or any other type of event where people say that they have been on the wait list for a long period of time, I always look into it. And more oftentimes than not, sometimes people are confused and they think that just because they made an application that they're on the wait list, or they've been on the wait list and we haven't been able to find them. And so, their name has been removed. So it's not always quite what it seems when people indicate they've been waiting, especially when you start saying they've been on there 10 or 15 years, because we refresh and we go through that wait list all the time.
Okay, thank you.
And for the record, I want to just announce the link to this document. It's https://www.shra.org/financial-performance-and spelled out hyphens to I can't say that.
Strategic.
Hyphen planning hyphen documents / and that will get you to the web location for those documents. Okay, any other questions of commissioners?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
For Daryl, I'm a tenant in SHRA property, and I was on the wait list for 9 months.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Vicki, is there any public comments on it at this point in time?
Not right now.
Okay, and nobody on the phone, I trust. Okay, I believe we're not voting on this tonight, so we'll
I think
move.
Mr. Boyd has his hand raised.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Barry.
Lachelle, and thank you, Chair. I'm having some math difficulties over here on this end. So much so, I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, I'm hearing, let me just make sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Okay, now I just saw Chair. Just a quick thing, I'm trying to open up my chat again to see if, Chair, if you had put yes, you did. That answered my question. Never mind. The link in there.
Yes, it is in the chat for those that are on Zoom.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Okay. And I'll ask if it's possible for SHRA staff
You want to do what?
to put that link on the YouTube video of this later, so people can refer to that maybe in the comment section of that or the description of that. Okay. If that is everything, we'll move on to business. I don't see any hands waving or on the chart. So this would be the authority to execute construction and permanent loan agreement and related documents with Villa Jardin Coral Gables LP in the amount of $2.12 million in Mental Health Services Act funds and the term of 57 years for the rehabilitation and construction of the Villa Jardin and Coral Gables project. And I probably massacred the name.
You were close, Villa Hardin and Coral Gables.
I was going, is it got an H sound or does it have a J sound?
Yes.
I went with the George W. Bush version.
Well, we have Ann Nichols who's going to give the presentation on the project.
Good evening, Chair Morgan and Commission members. Ann Nichols, Management Analyst. Staff is requesting approval of the Villa Jardin and Coral Gables loan agreement comprised of $2.12 million in Mental Health Services Act or MHSA program funds. The Villa Jardin and Coral Gables project site is located in the Meadowview area of the city of Sacramento. The project is a permanent supportive housing and workforce housing development. In August 2020, the City Council and Housing Authority Board approved tax-exempt bonds, pre-development loan commitments comprised of city home and housing trust funds, and a disposition and development agreement. All of it to assist the developer with the acquisition, construction, and permanent financing of the 82-unit project. The affordability levels are 25%, 30%, and 50% of area median income. The developer and property management agent will be the John Stewart Company. Live Steps will provide on-site case management and supportive services, plus 15 hours of resident services per week that includes service coordinator, after-school, workforce development, and enrichment programs. County Behavioral Health Services will provide case management and supportive services to the households in 15 units assisted with MHSA program funds. The MHSA program funds are administered in partnership with the County Behavioral Health, who has approved funding for this project. In addition to the funds previously approved, the financing structure of the project includes $2.12 million of MHSA funds for construction and permanent financing and 38 project-based vouchers to the project from SHRA, State Department of Housing and Community Development Multifamily Housing Program funds, tax-exempt bonds, 4% low-income housing tax credits, conventional loan, deferred developer fee, general partnership contributions, and fee waivers. In closing, staff is requesting approval of the MHSA construction and permanent financing and loan documents for the Villa Jardin Coral Gables development. Staff is available to address any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Comments and questions of commissioners? Everybody's silent. No.
Commissioner Boyd is raised.
Barry Boyd.
Yep, I saw that.
Of course.
Go ahead, Barry, you're on.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Starks. Thank you, Chairman Morgan. Thank you, Director Dozier. Sorry for the chuckling. The audio and video is just like the one, that bad commercial where the picture and audio is coming in intermittent. But anyway, my question is the 2.12 million, that, as it's stated, is for both the mental health aspect. Let me change that, for counseling, and I hope you guys are still there because my screen just blanked out, and construction for the 3 lots only, or is the construction part of that money to be spread amongst the construction for the to be built gate and entrance for both vehicle and pedestrian entry? So sorry for butchering. So the $2 million I'm asking, is it specifically for the counseling aspect of this venture, or is it for all 3 aspects, the counseling, the construction of the wall, fence, gates, and the rehabilitation for not only, well, excuse me, for the rehabilitation of the apartments that sit there on Meadowview Road, for that J Villa. Oh, I forgot the name of it that quick.
Villa Hardin.
Yes, thank you. Villa Hardin. That's it, right in front of, I guess that would be south of where these 3 new units will come up.
Thank you, Commissioner Board, for that important question. So the mental health services funds will be construction financing for the whole property, including Villa Hardin and the existing Villa Hardin property, and for the vacant lots in Coral Gables. And that could be towards the building, the rehab, the new construction, the fencing that you had mentioned, the vehicle gate. It can go towards all of that. Also, in addition to providing such a loan and having that program as part of this project, behavioral health will provide the services, and they are paid through this on top of the 2.12 million of MHSA funds that goes to this project.
Okay, thank you for that. So let me ask, so this is just gap financing, correct? Because we had already had this meeting, I'll just say a few months back, in regards to financing the actual project. So this 2.12 is just the gap for the initial funding for this project, right?
Yeah.
Or do I have it wrong?
Yes, this is a gap loan for this project, yes.
So last question. So the initial amount that was asked and what is now needed, what would cause this additional $2 million?
So we initially had approved mixed income housing funds, but because this property needed additional case services, case management and supportive services due to a limited, sorry, this is going to get weedy, HCD's and multifamily housing program limits to how much of your operating costs could be used towards services. And that created a gap. So what we had to go back to the table and see what other funding sources we could utilize. County Behavioral Health indicated that they were interested in adding some units to this property, both Villa Hardin and Coral Gables, distributed throughout the whole project, and determined they wanted 15 units, which then calculated out, yielded 2.12 million in the Mental Health Services Act funds. So in doing that, we swapped out the mixed income housing funds that you previously approved last year with the MHSA funds.
Gotcha on that. So let me ask to your statement, So only because I just want to just make sure. So for the county's portion of it, is it just this project where SHRA is paying the county for those services, or does SHRA pay for the services provided by the county in regards to mental health counseling?
No, I think one way to look at this is to see it as really a collaboration between the city and the county. So if you remember previously when we did La Mancha, we did need some additional resources, and that's where the county stepped in with these important funds that helped make that project a go. And that's similar to what's happening here. We kind of swapped out some of the money, but in exchange for that, then the county will be able to locate their MHSA clients in this particular project. I think it's 15 units, is it correct? So this is a way so that the city and county can both come together and provide affordable housing for a very needy population, and to leverage the resources on both sides. So SHRA does not have to contribute, but we really are using the resources from the county. And luckily, we can use it for capital, and then ongoing, they're going to provide those resources for their clients who live at the property. Is that a good way, Anne?
That's excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I have my weed eater on full of gas, so I was with you.
Okay.
But just let me, I'm doing my error calculator here. So with that, I just answered my own question. Okay, thank you, because that's the portion that wasn't making sense, even though I read it, and I'm like, okay, I understand the swapping, and then, well, let me not say too much over here. It just hit me. Never mind, we're good. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Barry. We'll go to Martin Ross. Martin?
Thank you for the presentation and for the additional questions and explanation from everyone. And thank you for Commissioner Boyd on the detailed questions and trying to understand gap funding. My question has to do with this particular housing complex. Are there any children that are present there, or are they all adults? And that would be my first question. And then depending on that, then I may have a second one.
Sure, Commissioner Ross, yes, there are children at this property, and there will be more children at this property.
So my second question would be, and this is not to disparage anyone that has needs for mental health, and I imagine this is something that's already been looked at, but would it be considered a safe place for children if we're adding individuals that are needing extensive mental health care?
Do you want to?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Julie, are you there?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Good evening, Chair Morgan and Commissioners. Commissioner Ross, thank you for that question. I'm a project manager with the John Stewart Company, so I represent the developer on this project. So yes, your question is an excellent one. And actually, that's the reason that we kind of went to the county to make sure there are enough services on site to make sure that all of our deeply needy population have wraparound services, to make sure that their needs can be addressed and they're not creating an unsafe environment for any other residents, be that families with children or other working adults. The John Stewart Company has a long history of managing projects that have sort of this mixed population. So a mix of folks who have experienced homelessness or have mental health issues or substance issues, and then also just sort of general like low income families. And so our property management staff have also worked very closely with our proposed resident service provider to make sure that our resident services plan is adequate enough to make sure that services are on site. We've also made sure that there is enough money in our operating budget to make make sure that service, like on-site caseworkers are available 24/7 a day in case crises occur. And we have worked with this service provider before on other projects, and have a very good relationship with them. You know, property management meets with them with on-site case management very frequently, and the proposal is for that to happen at this site once a week to make sure that property management staff are also aware of any issues that any resident is experiencing, so we can make sure that everybody lives in a safe and kind of calm environment. And I will say just one thought that I had when you asked about the children. There are children at the existing Villa Hardin. There is not a very good playground. So one of the things that I'm very personally excited about here is that part of all the resources that SHRA and the state and the tax credit agency are providing are allowing us to build play facilities for these children where none exist. So let me know if that answered your question. I'm happy to provide any more or answer any other questions.
Thank you for that answer. I'm glad to hear that there's experience with that, because I think as a parent, any parent with children would, want to be aware that those concerns might be addressed and that they're in a safe environment. But if you feel that the past experience has worked out well, then I think it's a good thing. But that's just a concern. Are you're confident that from past experience that children will be comfortable as well as parents?
Yes, it is important to us that we can manage a property where everybody feels safe and comfortable in their own home, right? And so we would not be proposing that if we didn't think we could manage that appropriately. That's not to say that, anyone can experience a mental health crisis. It's important to us to make sure that the whole team meets that with the sensitivity that it deserves. But our team is very experienced in doing that and making sure that everybody feels safe.
And then also too, that is part of the consideration that the county would make in terms of their placement of an MHSA client. I mean, they're going to look to see, is this the right match for them in terms of this particular complex versus others that we have partnered with on the county that are MHSA that might be more well suited depending on the client. So there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And it really is something that we work in concert with the county, and John Stewart, as a very experienced property manager, knows how to address issues when they come up or to deal with it if it's not working.
Thank you both. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Julie. And thank you, Michelle and Ann, for all those answers. I don't see anybody else's hand up or anybody waving. So, Vicki, is there any public comment or questions?
There are none at this time.
Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion.
No move.
I missed who that was.
I move we approve per the staff recommendations.
All right.
A second.
It's Jabu and Wu. Thank you. Vicki, roll call, please.
Amanpour,
Aye.
Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Osmany,
Aye.
Rouse,
Aye.
Schumacher Hodge,
Aye.
Jabu,
Aye.
Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Great, thank you. That takes us to the approval of regulatory agreement for Sacramento Manor.
All right, and we have Austin, who's going to be giving the presentation on this project.
Good evening, Chair Morgan and Commission members. I'm Austin Knudsen, Housing Finance Analyst with Development Finance, here to review staff recommendations to execute a regulatory agreement for Sacramento Manor Apartments. The project, located at 7300 24th Street Bypass, consists of 260 one-bedroom, two-bedroom, and three-bedroom units and is in good physical condition. The owner is Alliance Property Group. The management company is California Commercial Investment. Recently, the longtime previous owner sold the property to Alliance, an affordable housing developer whom SHRA has worked with in the past. In June, Alliance applied for and was awarded $1.2 million in state funding through the Low Income Weatherization Program, LIWP, to complete energy upgrades, reducing greenhouse gas emissions. These improvements include replacing pool heat pump, replacing the HVAC system, replacing appliances with energy efficient ones, replacing interior and exterior light fixtures with energy efficient lights, replacing existing windows with energy efficient windows, and replacing water heaters with electric water heaters. An agreement ensuring rents remain affordable for residents earning 80% area median income is a requirement of the LIWP funds. The proposed regulatory agreement requires 66% of these units remain affordable for 10 years. After 10 years, Alliance plans to refinance using traditional affordable housing funding sources, such as tax credit, to further improve the property and restrict the rents up to 55 additional years. Approval to execute a regulatory agreement on the project is a win-win-win situation, as it allows residents to benefit from the energy efficiency upgrades, SHRA to preserve naturally occurring affordable housing by restricting rent levels, and the owner will have access to the LIWP award to implement the improvements. In conclusion, staff recommends approval to execute the regulatory agreement for the project, and staff is available to answer any questions the commission may have.
All right, thank you. Questions of commissioners? Should I call on Barry? I guess there's no questions. Any public comment?
No public comments have been received.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Moved by Wu and
We approve for staff recommendations.
second by Sajavu. Vicky, roll call.
Amanpour,
Aye.
Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Osney,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Marker Hodge,
Aye.
Sajabu,
Aye.
Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item number 4 is the La Mancha project approving an application for funding and execution of a grant agreement and amendments.
Anne is back to do the presentation on this one.
Good evening, Ann Nichols, Management Analyst. In September 2020, the Housing Authority in the city of Sacramento was a recipient of a state home key funding award in partnership with Mercy Housing California.
Can we get you to move the microphone just a little bit closer to Ann?
Testing.
Very much better.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Let me start at the top. Ann Nichols, Management Analyst. In September 2020, the Housing Authority of the City of Sacramento was a recipient of a state home key funding award in partnership with Mercy Housing California, the developer for the La Mancha project located in South Sacramento near Highway 99 and Mack Road. In December 2020, the developer successfully acquired the former motel and has completed approximately 90% of the conversion from 124 motel rooms to 100 permanent supportive housing units with kitchenettes, and 24 ground floor units were converted into approximately 5,000 square feet of lobby, reception, management offices, meeting rooms, and common area restrooms. All units are restricted to households earning at or below 30% of area median income, and residents have project-based vouchers. The developer provides management and resident services. County Behavioral Health Services and Hope Cooperative provide case management and supportive services to the residents. In April 2021, State Department of Housing and Community Development sent previous home key awardees an invitation to apply for HCD's set aside of funds to support home key projects. The developer requested SHRA to apply to HCD for $1.75 million for the purpose of making additional improvements to the project, which includes installation of solar power carports to reduce operating costs, a new front vehicle gate that secures the property, converting all door locks from the previous hotel card entry system to traditional residential locks, additional recreation area, and an expanded community room with a covered entry. These items were not included in the original scope due to limited resources and time constraints to meet the ambitious home key program schedule in 2020. In closing, staff is requesting approval to apply to HCD's $1.75 million, and if successfully awarded, enter into funding agreements with HCD and the developer for the project. Staff is available to address any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Ann. Questions of commissioners?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. I guess you did mention that it was out of scope for the original request for funding. Like, did they know that they wanted to do that at the time and they excluded it, or was it recently they decided that they needed these extra things?
It was something we wanted to do in the scope originally, but we had to focus on the priorities because of the quick timeline that we had to acquire and start construction and start moving in homeless population into the property. And then when this opportunity came about, it was like, oh, this is our wish coming true. So we have to go after it.
Okay.
I think if all things had been the way we wanted them, we would have more time. But there was a strict, tight timeline that we had to get in, make the improvements, and get people leased up to meet the requirements that the state set out for us. And as Ann mentioned, after they said there was more money available, then we could go back and expand and do kind of this bump out, in increasing the community space and making the other improvements. So.
All right, Martin, you have your hand up.
Yeah, fantastic. Extra money to get some things done. What does HCD mean? I didn't catch that. I mean, I apologize if I should have understood what that meant.
Oh, no problem. It's a State Department of Housing and Community Development.
Okay, thank you. So they had extra funds to complete the wish list that wasn't available earlier because of timelines, correct?
Yes, that's correct. But it was specific to support previously awarded home key projects.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, I saw part of the presentation by the Sacramento Housing Alliance, and Stephen Dawes did an excellent job of explaining what we just talked about. And so I'm going to ask if he would mind giving us a condensed version of what he spoke to, I believe it was last week, on that subject about the expansion. If you could, Stephen, please.
Hello, Chair Morgan. Hi, thank you. Commissioners, you can hear me, I take it? Good.
We can hear.
So, so I'm glad to hear you got to participate in the virtual tour, and the video is available on I think the Housing Alliance's, I think their Facebook page is where you can find it. I'm not sure I can do anything more condensed. That was about as condensed as I could possibly do to explain the entire project. But I'll just maybe the highlights are that despite the speed to which we had to perform on this, as Lachelle was describing, things are going remarkably well. And while yes, it's true that we would have liked to have had more time and been thoughtful about the physical needs and the funding that we might have taken the time to assemble to get this at first, the first approach. We've housed nearly 100 people now that were unhoused, and in record time, and at probably half the cost that building permanent supportive housing through new construction typically costs. And so yeah, we're extremely proud of the partnership with all the entities that Anne mentioned that have put just a ton of effort to prove that this can be done successfully. It can be done well and can be done with a high level of success. So yeah, we look forward to making these adjustments with this additional funding if we're successful to enhance the physical layout of the property and increase security a little bit. But things are going tremendously well at the site in the 9 months that we've been in operations.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Okay, did I stir up any questions of commissioners? Is there any public comment on this, Vicki?
None received right now.
Say again?
I said no comments have been received.
Okay. So I'm open for a motion.
I'll move it.
Motion by Wu and second by Morgan.
Okay.
Vicki, roll call.
Amanpour,
Aye.
Boyd,
Aye.
Morgan,
Aye.
Osney,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Schumacher Hodge,
Aye.
Sajabu,
Aye.
Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
Yes.
And the motion.
All right, thank you. And if any of you have a chance to go and watch that video, or actually what is about 4 of the videos, take the time, it's worthwhile. That takes us to a presentation, the 2022 SHRA Budget Workshop, Housing Authority Administration Departments.
So as I mentioned at the last meeting, commissioners, this is the time that we really go through our budget in depth, and you get an opportunity to hear not only just our financial overview, but really the work that goes on within all of the departments at SHRA. So tonight we have 2 departments that will be giving their presentations. One is the Housing Authority, and we have Mark Hamilton will be giving that presentation. And then we have our administration department, and James Shields will be giving that presentation. I think, Mark, are you first? Or is it you, Jim? Who?
I think Jim's first.
Oh, Jim's first. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So, Jim.
Thanks, Lachelle. Good evening, Chairman Morgan. How are you tonight?
Okay.
And good evening, commissioners. My name is Jim Shields, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Administration. And before I begin my presentation, I'd like to introduce the senior staff of the administration department. And so we have Vicki Smith, who is acting as the clerk today. She's been the clerk for many years, but Vicki was promoted just recently to a senior management analyst, and she's doing wonderful in that job. Vicki's been with us for 31 years. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody. Next is Mike Taylor, the Director of Real Estate and Construction. Mike, are you there? Yeah, there you are. And Mike's been with us for 22 and a half years. So 2 long-term employees. Lyra, who is the agency clerk, is unable to be with us tonight, but she's been with us for 22 years. And the next is Tracy Knighton, who is the HR manager. She's been with us for 15 years. So hi, Tracy. And then we have Michael Snyder, who is our Director of Information Technology. And Mike's been with us for 5 years. And Lachelle keeps doing it. And then Sylvester Donaldson, who is our procurement manager, who is been with us, it seems like forever, but a year. And so welcome to everybody. And I've been with the agency for 19 years. And so it's a great honor to work here, and you can see the longevity of the staff. They've been here a long time. And so we really enjoy what we're doing. And so it's my honor tonight to talk a little bit about what the administration departments do, talk about some of the goals that we have, and what we've been doing for the last year and a half. And so let me go ahead and share the screen. What do I do now? I shared the screen, should share. Yeah. And then
there it goes.
So the first item I'd like to discuss is the financials of the administration department. Now, the administration department includes all the departments I mentioned and the executive office with Lachelle and some of her staff. For the year 2022, you can see that on the administration departments, we're a little over 3% of the total cost for the agency, and the overall budget for the agency would be $326 million. On the real estate and construction side, they are part of operations. They're not what we call overhead or administration. They are part of the projects and paid out of the projects. And so Mike Taylor's group makes up a little over 0.5% of the overall agency's budget. So on to the next slide. So I want to spend a couple minutes on what we as the agency have been doing during the pandemic, and all the things that we've done to try to make sure the agency continues. And so during the worldwide pandemic, we were faced with many challenges. And I just want to share the things that we had to work through. We responded with having to write new policies, new procedures. We had to distribute equipment and supplies. We had to do contract tracing with employees. And we had to manage many, many different types of leaves with employees. We purchased personal protective equipment for employees. We had sanitized stations. We did temperature checks of every employee every day. We distributed masks and gloves, sanitizer to employees. We needed to do social distancing, so we had to find additional office space. We moved people and equipment to different offices. We provided training for employees on COVID-19. We also did some fun things, and we were in this office. We were working hard on behalf of our residents and our customers. And one of the things that we tried to do was make sure that we kept in touch with what was happening, and we followed what the state did when they had, if you remember, they had a Vax to Win program, and we did something similar to that, and we were very successful in getting the vaccination rate up an additional 20% because of the program that we did, and I wanted to thank the HR department for that. So that was a lot of hard work on our part. And one of the things that I'm really proud of, and our executive director did a fantastic job, was to keep in touch with our employees. And she did regular Zoom meetings with the employees. And we had over 350 people at any one time on these Zoom meetings. It was open and transparent communications on where we were. We did things such as Lachelle invited a neurosurgeon to discuss what the vaccinations were, and discuss what the pandemic was, and discuss what the virus was. And that helped out a lot. And it helped our employees to understand and decide whether they needed to get the vaccination or not. And we also had very close ties with our unions. The HR department with Tracy spent a lot of time working with the unions to work with them on making sure we had harmonious relations with them. And so they were very helpful during this time working with the union. So I wanted to thank them as well. So that was a little bit about what we've been doing throughout this last year. And so it's been a very trying year, but a very productive year for us. So another thing I'd like to share with you is the agency's diversity. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been doing as an agency. In 2017, we introduced a 5-year diversity and inclusion program. And that program has been very successful. We're at the end of the 5 years. It'll be ending this year, and we're working on another 5-year program. And the goals of our plan were to have a workforce that's broadly reflective of our community and the clients we serve, identify and address barriers within our organization so that we can better serve our community, attract and retain talented workforce, skilled at working in an inclusive and respectful manner with one another, and create policies and procedures that meet the needs of those who we serve. And you can see this slide before you where we've grown on our male and female and our minority and white and the numbers that we've grown. And we've had a very successful 5 years, and through this all, our management team and through our employees, it's something that we as an agency embrace and we live every day. And so through our leadership and through our leader, Lachelle, this is something where we are very proud of what we do every day. So I'm very proud to present this slide to you. Okay, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about each one of the departments. So the first one is the HR department. And they've worked tirelessly. They've all been in the whole time. The whole department's been here. They've transitioned a lot of these type of programs that we've had. And they're the ones that have created and tried to come up with the programs that we as an organization attract employees and retain employees. And so this has led to, the programs we've had have led to literally hundreds of low-income residents across Sacramento gaining employment in our organization. We've also worked very hard at increasing our efficiencies and effectiveness throughout the organization. We've done a lot of career development and a lot of training for our employees as well. We also introduced a very successful program. It's called our Emerging Leader Program. And these are people that have college degrees and master's degrees, and we brought them in there to develop new programs for us, develop efficiencies, and it's been wildly successful for the program. And so we're real proud of that program. For next year, we're going to work real hard at continuing our inclusionary and diversity program with equity training for all of our employees. We're going to do administering a strengths assessment for all of our executives and our managers. And we're going to design an onboarding program to enhance new hire experience and continue being a safe environment for our employees. The IT department was just as busy. As you can see, they have lots of projects that they've worked on. And I've listed some of the projects that have helped continue this organization, continue running this organization to support our community through this pandemic. These technology enhancements were improvements. They streamlined what we do, and they've made it a lot easier for our clients and for our residents to access their documents, to access the wait list, and access their applications that are online. Our IT team also worked with HCV on implementing a new call center that has greatly reduced the wait time for our callers and has benefited the organization. Next year, one of the things that we're going to really work hard on is to transition the agency to a cloud-based technology. And some of you may understand there's Windows 7. We're going to a cloud-based, it's MS 365, which is the same concept, but it's in the cloud. And we're going to continue to focus on network security. It's behind the scenes, but a lot of what happens every day is our IT team is having to fight off people trying to get into our system every single day. And so they do a wonderful job at making sure that people don't get into our system. So we'll continue to work on that as well. Procurement department has been here. They've been just as busy. We've had a very challenging year when it comes to doing outreach for our Section 3 because of the pandemic. But we worked really hard at trying to hire as many people that we can that are a part of the Section 3 program. We've tried to host, instead of in-person meetings, we've done Zoom meetings with people. And so we are really still continuing to focus on our Section 3 program, making sure that we continue to hire people that that are really in need of work, that want to work. And so one of the things that I'm real proud of at this organization is that we have worked hard at bringing in new vendors that are Section 3 and hiring people that are Section 3. And so you see that number there, 34. Those are 34 individuals that are now working on Marisol Village that are Section 3. And so they're working alongside the development department and working on that project itself. So I'm real proud of that.
Maybe Jim, you can
Yes.
explain what Section 3 is.
Oh, yes, I can. Thank you very much. Well, Section 3 is a section of actually the HUD legislation that requires all federal agencies that deal with federal funding, specifically HUD organizations like ours, housing authorities, to provide jobs and employment for individuals that are either residents of public housing or voucher holders or residents of our community, which is Sacramento County and the city of Sacramento, the opportunity of employment. And so when we work with an organization that is contracting with us, like Marisol Village, they're required to do outreach to the whole community. They're required to work with us on trying to hire as many people that they can in different type of positions. And so, for example, these 34 Section 3 people, they're not just hired as laborers. We have electricians that were hired. We have mechanics that were hired. We have plumbers that were hired. And so some very skilled people as well. And so it's something that we have a new Section 3 coordinator that we hired in 2019. And it's the first time we did that. And with Lachelle's leadership, we were able to really ramp up this program and enhance that program. So thank you, Lachelle. Thank you. And real estate and construction. The real estate construction is an organization that supports both public housing and the development organization. And so you had presentations on projects tonight that are sponsored by the development department. And they will work with that organization. And when we provide funding for a project that is working with development, my organization will go in there and we have the construction crews, the engineers, the technicians, and the architects that will go in and monitor and inspect every single project to ensure that they're up to speed, what we expect, and also what are on the plans. And so we are there, the eyes and ears of the agency. And we do that, and we work with also Mark Hamilton's group in public housing on all the construction projects that they have. And so you can see that they've worked on a lot of different projects over the year. And one of the things that we're real proud of is that we've talked a little bit about the Welcome Home program. And 5 years ago, we took over 76 vacant homes from the public housing organization. And we are now at the end of that program, and we rehabbed those houses. And we now have 5 houses left to finish at the end of the year. And all these homes are sold to low-income individuals that would otherwise not be able to afford a home. And so we're real proud of that. And Mike Taylor's done a great job at that. And so we will continue working on these programs. And also Mike's team also works hand in hand with Mark Hamilton on all the Rad projects as well. So that's something that we've got many, many more years to go. So, and then the last one is the clerk's office. And while a lot of you see the clerk, you work with her directly, she does a lot of behind the scenes stuff. We process all the documents, all the staff reports, not just for the commission, but also for the city and the county staff reports. She receives all the public requests. And then over the years, Vicki and Lyra have been working on projects with all the different departments, and we're doing, taking all the paper files that we have and we're scanning them and putting them in storage. They also review all the contracts, and so there's a lot of behind the scene that they do. So one of the things that we like to do is they also hold podium training for the individuals that present to you. And they do a very successful job at that because they use me and Michelle and Mark and some of the others as people that sit on, and we pretend to be you, the commission, and we ask really hard questions like you do. And so we train the staff, and they do a real good job of putting that training together. And so it's a really good program we have. And then one of the things that we're going to do next year is we're going to create a formal training program for the commissioners, so that when new commissioners come on board like yourselves, and some of the new ones that have come on board, we'll have more of a formal training for you, so you'll understand the organization much better. So
I look forward to that, Jim.
yes, we will, absolutely, Commissioner Morgan. So this is just
Just one point on that, Jim.
Yes.
As well, on that particular project, we will be reaching out just to get some feedback from you as commissioners as to what you think would be most helpful as we put together that onboarding process. So
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lachelle. Yes.
Mhm.
So this is just an org chart, just to show you in summary of what the departments do. And my staff and I are available for any questions you may have.
Questions of commissioners. I see Barry, and then Java.
Stop sharing.
Thank you, Chair. I try to switch devices to see if it would be better, but I'm still having the same issues. A couple of questions. Good evening, Jim. Good to see and hear from you again.
Yes, good evening.
Right on. My question to you is, out of the 34 Section 3 employees, how many of those are specific hires from one of the SHRA programs?
Sylvester, do you know, excuse me, Sylvester, do you know that answer? I don't know the answer offhand. Sylvester may know that.
Sure, Boyd, I was on mute. Are you saying specifically our training programs? Or are you just saying there are recruitment and placement programs?
No, I think I did leave that open a little too wide. Sorry about that. Thank you for closing my parameters in regards. Well, no, the 34 hires versus being a non-SHRA housing participant hire.
Those as the Section 3 coordinator reported, those are directly from SHRA programs. They're not outside of our agency's purview. So they're not just income specific, but they're also program specific to SHRA.
Okay, I thought I heard Jim state that those who live in the community, i.e. the county and or city, are also available if you fall in the parameters of go ahead, Jim, I'll let you jump in.
I think I understand your question, and I don't have the answer, but I think you mean, are they residents of public housing or are they voucher holders?
Correct.
And I don't have that answer, but I definitely can get that back to you. Of the 34, I will get that answer for you.
I appreciate that. And the new hire, Section 3 coordinator is which person?
It's going to be Edward Lewis.
Wow, this is and well, you know what? I'll come back once I do remember.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Was it Emmanuel that I had his hand up? No, Sajabu, I know.
Yeah, how many employees are there in SHRA?
Tracy?
We have approximately 224 full-time employees at SHRA.
And we have a lot of temps. We have 100. How many temps do we have now? 200 temps?
125 temps.
Right now, yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I had to call in order to hear, but my question is this: since you guys did a great job as far as with the 5-year plan for the inclusion process that you guys worked on.
Yes.
I think it looked good. But my question would be, from those numbers, how many people as far as in diversity are in those leadership roles?
You know,
like, is it reflective with the leadership roles?
Yes, yes, it absolutely does. Yes, the numbers are pretty much mirror what you see as far as like senior management and management. Yes, yes, very diverse group.
Yes, you'll see that on our executive.
Thank you.
On our executive leadership team, that diversity is throughout in terms of the mix between men and women, as well as people of color.
All right.
You're welcome.
Any other questions before we move on to Mark?
I think Martin had a question, didn't he?
You're not with us on audio yet.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I will just say, I've always been a fan, and maybe that's why Lachelle had him mention that section 3. You remember, Lachelle, not too long ago, I went on my rant on that. I got educated about it. James smiling, and because he had to educate, but I just love that. And I don't think we can say enough about this. And let me just say this, that other companies really need to see what you guys are doing, because they need models. It's like lawyers speak to lawyers, they understand lawyer. Well, companies understand company speak. And when they see what you guys are doing, when they see the programs, and there's measurable outcomes, and it's not some soft science, some, sweet affirmative action gimme. It's real, measurable benefit. And right now, there's a lot of companies out there that are getting on the whole DEI, and Lachelle, you know what I'm talking about. They're all into, reading all the right books and doing all the right things. And, but really where the rubber meets the road is, how do we do it in a way that doesn't hurt some people that elevates some, not at the expense of hurting the other. And you guys are doing that. And you should really be celebrated for that. And if there was a way for us to really just kind of showcase it, I mean, you guys are certainly a model that I think even other companies really need to kind of pay close attention to. So good job, staff. Good job, James, Lachelle, and James, and the rest. Because it's really, even my company, we do a great job at it, but we always need to see people who are practitioners, of it. And there's a real big difference between being a theoretical organization versus a practical organization when it comes to these issues. So bully for you guys, and keep up the section 3 stuff.
I just want to say one thing, Commissioner Starks, thank you very much. It's a lot of hard work, but it's a lot of rewarding work, and it really is meaningful. So thank you for those comments, and thank you for the challenge. We'll take that challenge and see what we can do to get our story out there more. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Martin, did you have your hand up? You're muted.
It's not working.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I
We
guess
can hear
I
you
had.
now.
We can hear you now.
All right, sorry about that. I could see you, but you couldn't hear me. All right, let me go back. Can you? Yeah, you can hear me now. You said?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that earlier. Okay, so I want to echo the comments from others, Commissioner Stark, and the section 3 part. I just got really excited about that. Jobs for residents. I'm working on some contacts myself right now that if it does come to fruition, Executive Director, I will let you know. and there'll be some other employment opportunities that may come about, but I'm working on that. So we'll see how that comes about. But I really like the idea of the Section 3. I'm glad it was commented to describe what it was, because I didn't know what it was, but once I found out what it was, super excited about that. I like the idea that there's employment of skilled labor. What I would like to do, I am also on the EEOAC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Commission, and that is a commission that looks at county successes or just diversity in general. And we had a very good discussion last week, and looking for some best practices. And what I would like, I don't know if the slides could be resent for that particular presentation, but I may ask that you and the director, Rozier,
Dozier, yes.
Dozier, okay. I'm sorry.
That's
Dozier
okay.
might come and present, because there are only just a few best practices. That's why I like what Sam was mentioning. There has to be greater examples, and across the board, a lot of folks, they say they're getting it done, and we're just looking at numbers, and the numbers seem to look the same each year, as I've been told. So I may be inviting you all to come, but if I could have those slides, I will definitely present that diversity success slide in the next EEOAC committee meeting. I also wanted to comment, so that's my main part. Keep up the good work. I'm excited about that. IT. So here's the question on IT. Is there robust IT access at all the SHRA facilities, looking at the idea that there are technology and educational gaps that children and adults are facing, especially these days? Does everyone have access to Wi-Fi and devices to do that?
Yes, they do have access to Wi-Fi in our various communities. And I know that we are engaged in a program whereby folks can get access to devices. But at the majority of our locations, we do have access to Wi-Fi in our communities.
Okay, so my comment would be, there's a lot of funds out there right now. My recommendation would be, if you know, I'm just curious, everyone should have access to it, and especially when we're just thinking of folks that have income resource issues. It's making a difference, of whether it's like a have and have not situation. Can SHRA make it a priority that everyone has those access, not only to the Wi-Fi, but the devices?
Well,
yes.
I'd like to see funds spent on that, if it's not being done yet.
So one of the things that we do, quite a few of our communities do, and some of the ones where we have struggled with having consistent access, we have entered into pilot programs. I know Mark has been working on one such program for our large communities. Sometimes it depends on the physical infrastructure of the complex, but you have to remember that the housing authority is everywhere from Orangevale to Walnut Grove. And we're widely dispersed. So you will see varying levels of coverage. And also too, where we've had large populations of students is where we've worked with the school district in terms of devices, so that the children, have access to those for distance learning. But it continues to be a priority. We continue to look for any additional funds or grants that will assist our families.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my only comment is, it should be I believe it should be of the highest priority because look where we're meeting right now. We're not in person.
No,
We need a device.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
To your question, Martin, there is some information I received yesterday from the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. I have forwarded that information to staff, and I'm sure that they will be working with that program also, along with us, with the residents, in making sure that this information is available and that people take advantage of those programs. So I think, Mark, you probably got a copy of that from me along with a few others. And Barry, I see you have your hand up, and then we'll go to Mark's presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Piggybacking a little bit off of Commissioner Ross there. Two things, and actually to your comment as well, Chairman Morgan. The emergency broadband program is extended to everyone. It's simplistic to sign up. You individuals may have just a bit of or may have difficulty in regards to their carrier enrolling. Just about every program I see that's available to those that are in need, I sign up and see if I can get through to it or get connected to it or go through the sign up process, just so I know the difficulty level. And again, the website for the national sign up, simplistic, no big deal. And again, it was the carrier it was tremendously inept trying to figure out what I was even speaking about. Hopefully that has been adjusted. It has been a few weeks ago since I had tried that. In addition, with ARP funding, as Commissioner Ross has stated, with available funding that is out there, of course, SHRA is not in the IT business. But with that stated, through the City of Sacramento's partnership with the Sacramento Coalition for Digital Inclusion, I've seen Julius virtually attend a couple of the meetings, which SEDI is the Sacramento chapter under the national chapter of Valley Vision. Let me ask this question to you first, Director. Is Sacramento, is SHRA partnering with SEDI
I'm not
in any
sure.
aspect?
I'm not sure if we're partnering directly with them. Mark, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
Okay. What that said is for what we're doing at SCDI is trying to find additional devices to get to those who may not have, if they don't qualify, or just unable to receive a device through the City of Sacramento's free device program and or through Comcast's discounted device and free internet service. There are a lot of opportunities. So it does go back to, in regards to, as Executive Director stated, Housing Authority runs the entire county. So some areas won't have that quality Wi-Fi reach. But for those of us in the city, we are all covered. And so from that, any entity or not entity, any property that SHRA runs in regards to multifamily, there should be pretty much a zero excuse if high quality Wi-Fi accessibility isn't there. Because of the grid in Sacramento, we are all covered regardless of what service provider that is being used. Again, so coming off of making a statement, asking the question or re-asking the question, if I am being redundant, my apologies, to Mr. Snyder, do the facilities or properties in the city of Sacramento, are they all capable of receiving robust Wi-Fi?
They are all capable of receiving robust Wi-Fi, as well as, and you're correct, as well as 5G. As well, the Sacramento grid is very heavily saturated right now with 5G, which most folks or a good portion thereof have access to. So the answer to your question is yes.
Fantastic.
And I think, are you also asking Commissioner Boyd, do they have the devices that allow them to connect?
Well, two-part. The coverage part is doesn't do you any good if you have a device if you don't have coverage, and it doesn't do you any good if you have coverage and no device. So Executive Director Dozier, yes. The second part, when again goes back to SHRA is not a device provider, but as long as information continues that SHRA puts out there where individuals at those properties can find or sign up, apply for those devices would be great.
Yeah.
But now thinking of what you just stated, are there in the facilities, or excuse me, I keep saying facilities, the properties that have a community room, are each of those properties that do have a community room also have and provide a device for the tenants for access to the internet?
So the SHRA doesn't provide the devices, but we have worked in concert with the school district in certain developments. So if you could also forward to me the information that you have from the committee that you work with in our resident services department. We don't provide, but we do connect, and we work with our residents who are having any types of challenges in that particular area. So any information that you send to us will help us increase our list of resources available.
Gotcha. I'm not trying to belabor the question. So just so I'm clear, again, understanding SHRA does not provide devices. That's not the business of SHRA. But in the community rooms, for those properties that do have it, would those devices be there provided by the property management company, or would that fall under the purview of SHRA to provide a device in those community rooms?
We did have, in some of the larger complexes, we did have community rooms that, had computers that residents could use, but in COVID environment, those rooms are not open because we, are following all of our protocols. And so that is just not the reality of where we are right now during the pandemic.
Gotcha, which I keep forgetting about the pandemic. How? I don't know, but I do. To what you just stated, I'm just asking, not asking for an answer now, but sometime in the near future, possibility to open those rooms back up as 30 minutes at a time, hour at a time, for the residents. And of course, with a cleaning after every person leaves, so that those residents there on those properties that don't have a device could actually be able to get out to the internet.
Well, our first priority is really working to make sure that children have devices and connections. Then after that, it's, working with any of our residents who need to have access to, a computer. But that is also a part of our reopening discussion as we look in weigh, the issues of continuing to manage, during a time where COVID is very rampant. And we do see that there are continuing cases that are rising. So as we look at reopening, that is also a part of how we will transition into reopening. But with the new variant, the new Delta variant, it really has pushed those plans back, in all honesty.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. I appreciate the information and the answers on my questions. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Lachelle and James and Mike, this is, and you probably know about it, and I'm not going to belabor it. The digital equity program that United Way is doing, I want you, if you could, look into that. We're a sponsor, SMUD's a sponsor, and it's on the internet. So you could just Google United Way's digital equity program, and some of that might answer some of the questions that you have. The money's not going to be there forever. but while we're throwing it down, you guys should probably look into it so you can pick it up. Enough.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep, thank you, we will.
All right, I see that our attorney has popped up on the screen. Did you want to say something to us, or?
Hi, yeah, thanks, Chair Morgan. I just wanted to, I just hopped on to try to refocus the conversation and the presentation. Yeah, I've tried to provide as much latitude as I could with respect to the business that's on the agenda, and I just want to make sure that we refocus and get back to the agendized business and not further venture out into business that's not agendized. So I just wanted to bring that up and try to refocus everything. Thanks.
Gotcha. So we will go to Mark Hamilton for his presentation.
Okay. Let me share my screen here. Hopefully this works. Are you guys able to see my screen okay? Okay. So good evening, everyone. I think it's still evening, but good evening, Chair Morgan and members of the commission. For those that don't know me, I am Mark Hamilton. I am a director in our public housing department here at SHRA. And tonight I'm going to be providing you with a review of our 2022 budget for the public housing unit. So our first slide that we have here, it's probably going to look very similar to Jim's slide, but the magic number there is 326,441,000. That's the total agency expenditure projected for 2022, of which public housing constitutes 7.25%, which is a rather large number. In total, that's around 23.6 million, almost $24 million. Go through here. The public housing department is actually made out of multiple sectors. We have our housing authority property management part of the department. We have our maintenance part. We have our resident services, and then we have our rental assistance demonstration, or RAD, and slash asset repositioning wing in the public housing unit. The Housing Authority Property Management Team, this is the team that really handles the day-to-day operations of the properties that the Housing Authority owns and manages. There are 2 portfolios, each managed by a portfolio manager. These portfolios are broken up into 5 different regions, each then managed by a regional manager. And then within those regions, there are different asset management projects, or AMPs, which are staffed with our community property representatives and customer service representatives. Our Housing Authority Maintenance Department is the department that's there to address site, building, and unit repairs that are necessary for ongoing operations. The org structure has currently 1 maintenance supervisor, 2 maintenance coordinators, 2 turn teams, and maintenance personnel assigned to each property. And then, of course, we have our resident services team. That consists of our ROS, FSS, so resident opportunities, self-sufficiency, family self-sufficiency, and resident training programs. ROS and FSS are funded through HUD grants, and the resident training programs are funded through the use of operating subsidy and capital fund. Our newest addition to the public housing team actually got started around 2019, 2018. Where we were really looking to reposition a lot of our public housing assets, meaning moving them from the current public housing structure over to the more stable project-based Section 8 structure, utilizing HUD's rental assistance demonstration program. Currently, we have completed, as Jim mentioned in the presentation, our Rad Pilot, which consisted of 6 properties, 124 units. And we're currently in phase 2 of our RAD transition, where we will be working on one of our Central City projects, our Edgewater and our Capitol Terrace buildings. I'll go a little bit over that kind of further in the presentation here. So as far as funding sources, the majority of the funding that comes in for public housing is really boiled down to our operating subsidy. Our operating subsidy is what allows us to subsidize the housing and allows us to, based off of that operating subsidy and that tenant rent, that's what allows us to, take care of our units, to manage that, to provide the services, to do the repairs. And so that's a big chunk of the revenue that comes in to support the projected expenditures. That's around 10.1 million. For capital fund, which is, we'll go a little bit more about these different sources kind of later, but this is just a kind of a brief overview to show kind of like what all the sources are for the public housing team. So we'll kind of jump here to the next one here. So a little bit more detail about the operating subsidy. This is actually the HUD supplement to the tenant rents that are collected. And this allows for rent to remain affordable for residents and to provide a funding source for operational costs such as services, supplies, contract costs, and employee salaries and benefits. HUD provides this operating subsidy based off of the unit occupancy and utilization rate, meaning that you have to keep your units occupied, or you could be subject to a reduction in your operating subsidy. And then it's often prorated by Congress. So we've been fortunate the last few years that the proration for the operation subsidy has been in the mid-90s to high 90%. And I believe for 2022, we're looking at a close to 100% proration. What that proration kind of means is that HUD does an assessment based off of what you actually need to run your housing authority or run your public housing department. And instead of giving you 100% of what you were asking for, they will actually provide you with a lower proration, just depending on what the congressional budget looks like. The chart that I have here on the slide kind of shows like the different values and how it kind of fluctuates from year to year. So looking back about 10 years, going from 2013 to now, you can see where it kind of starts at 8.7 million there, fluctuates up to 9.7, all the way up to almost 11.5 million in 2017, only to kind of dip down. And this is actually a pretty solid trend for the operating subsidy. Kind of prior to this, proration has kind of dipped anywhere from 70% to 85%. And these numbers actually get lower and lower, which makes it difficult to really kind of manage a property when you have to kind of sacrifice, like, where are you going to spend money? Like, what are you going to invest in? You would prioritize things like keeping the roof in good shape rather than adding like some sort of tenant benefit amenity to a property. The one thing that we do have to kind of consider going into 2022 are some of the supply chain issues that are happening. So with operating subsidy, this covers our maintenance costs, right? So our raw materials, our contract costs. And what we've seen during the pandemic is a sharp increase in those material and contract costs, anywhere from 20% to 35% markups from the previous years. So while it looks like that, we're getting additional funds here, we're taking, when we created our budgets for this upcoming year, we made sure to include some of those kind of inflationary numbers based off of supply chain and increased demand and limited supply. The second largest chunk of our public housing funds is actually our capital fund grant. And this is the money that HUD actually provides for us to perform the capital repairs needed at our different public housing properties. This funding is used for extensive site improvements and renovations, unit improvements, building infrastructure and utilities. We also use this to fund our training program. We also use this as a source for our pre-development and capital loans for our rental assistance demonstration projects. So You can see that for 2021, we were estimated to receive 6.29 million, and we're estimating in 2022 to actually dip down to 6.25 million. And while that seems like a lot of money, you have to remember that we're looking to provide capital repairs and improvements to over 3,300 units in public housing, and it just doesn't go as far as it should. Go through here, and this is actually our plan for the capital fund allocations for 2022. As you can see, we've broken down to the dollar the $6.2 million that we were anticipated to receive here. And you'll see that the number one item on there are services and resident training, and our Yardi system, which is our database that we use, eats up about half of our capital fund budget, which leaves a little less than $3.3 million to go to our different properties that are in the public housing portfolio. You can see here that we're looking at things like tree maintenance, floor maintenance, replacing roofs and gas lines. These are all like really, for the most part, critical things that we have to spend this money on, rather than some of the nice things that we would like to do, such as like tenant improvements. I know one of the requests at one of our Alder Grove properties over the last few years is that they've wanted a community swimming pool installed, and we kind of have to go over this chart with our residents through our resident meetings, saying, hey, we would love to do that, but unfortunately our roofs aren't in good shape, and that's kind of where the money has to go. That kind of takes us to our resident services grants. And these are a key part of the department. This is the part of the department where we are doing outreach with our residents, where we are looking to connect them with services in the community. I know that it was brought up earlier on the Zoom, talking about internet connectivity and looking at resources like that. And this is something that would really fall under our resident services wing. They would be looking to connect our residents with resources that are present in the community that would help them and help our residents towards on that path to self-sufficiency. That's really the name of the game with resident services, is how can we place residents in a better position where effectively they don't need us anymore, where families can get onto a solid footing, where they can get financial literacy resources, employment services resources, even if they need connections to technology or childhood education, adult education, things of that nature. So our two key programs under resident services is the FSS, or Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which is a 5-year program in which participants sign up, and as they experience increases in their earned income, it actually those earned income differentials, they get deposited into escrow accounts, and at the end of their 5-year participation and they graduate, families would receive benefit of that escrow account, and sometimes it's in the tens of thousands of dollars, where these FSS graduates, they can go on to either buying a house or purchasing the equipment necessary to start a business. A lot of great things have been born by the FSS program. For Ross, the residents' opportunities for self-sufficiency, that's more like case management, where residents that funding is purely administrative, where funding goes into case managers who look to connect with the residents in our public housing program and get them connected to different elements within the community. So, that financial literacy, that adult education, that, if you need help with childhood education or, child rearing, these are things that Ross would connect our residents to. And just as a at a glance summary, like our city FSS participants in public housing, we had 35 this year. County FSS participants, we had 32. We have 35 participants currently enrolled with the County Ross program. One of the great projects that Resident Services was able to do this year was to connect children with school supplies. So we had 250 children that were connected with school supplies over the past year, even in the heart of the pandemic. And that included things like looking at those laptops and looking at, being able to connect families and making sure that they had access to distance learning. And then, of course, one of the largest things that we're working on right now is making sure that we're providing access to vaccine clinics right where residents live. This has been a major goal of public housing to make sure that the vaccine is accessible to all of our families. So we started at our largest two sites, our Alder Grove and Marina Vista community, and we've since expanded to 3 other sites over the last few months with the hope that we can connect to all of our different properties in partnership with the county and other medical providers to make sure that we're providing this invaluable resource and getting our residents protected. I think it was mentioned in the previous presentation that we have a lot of our common areas kind of shut down right now because we're really trying to avoid the person-to-person contact and to really limit the spread of COVID. Our hope is that as we get more and more of our residents vaccinated and more of our staff vaccinated, that as Lachelle mentioned, that can impact our reopening plan. So as we get more and more people protected, we can provide more and more access and more person-to-person contact as things get a bit safer. We had a period of time where things were getting, looking to kind of clear up, and then we had the Delta variant hit, and COVID cases just skyrocketed. And so we're always kind of paying attention to what's going on. We have a robust kind of COVID response plan as far as identifying, when residents are calling in and reporting that, they may have COVID positive cases. We have our appropriate PPE. We are still able to provide work order service to those residents, even in the heart of COVID. And kind of have some additional data here so one of the other big programs that we have is our resident training program. And this program really provides an opportunity for residents to really get experience in the working world. We have 3 major disciplines, our clerical program, our janitorial program, and our paint program. And through these programs, our residents are receiving instruction and education and a technical set of skills. We are also looking to focus heavily on soft skills and career development opportunities. So we're looking at resume building, we're looking at interview skills, we're looking at making sure that we're bringing in the education needed for our residents to kind of succeed in the working world. We're looking really in 2022 to really kind of broaden our training program and to see what other disciplines that we can potentially bring to the mix here. And as of right now, we have 8 trainees currently enrolled, which is during normal times would be a relatively low number, but seeing that we're still kind of in the heart of COVID, having 8 trainees on board is quite an accomplishment. And then our newest sector of the Public Housing Department is our Rental Assistance Demonstration Asset Repositioning arm. And back in 2018, which may precede some of the commissioners on the Zoom, the agency elected to renew its asset repositioning plan, especially when it came to its public housing assets. One of the big things is that our public housing assets are old, and they're just getting older every year, 2 of our older properties are in their 80s this year. So as things are aging and we're well past the useful life, it's critical for us to kind of look to see how can we infuse new dollars into these communities in order to make sure that they remain decent, safe, and sanitary. And whenever possible, introduce these really nice things that we should have there, such as Wi-Fi connections and picnic areas and community room space. So this plan was implemented back in 2018, and it really kind of coincides with that capital fund chart that I showed you earlier. The agency previously had kind of considered the rental assistance demonstration program, but the way that program works is that it's supposed to be a net zero program, meaning that it doesn't cost HUD any more to do RAD than it does to fund public housing. And so when you have a spike in capital fund, that means that you have a better opportunity or a higher opportunity to collect additional revenue. And that revenue is important because without it, you can't run your properties. So in 2018, there was a spike in capital fund, and I think that proceeded through 2019, 2020, and 2021, meaning that for these RAD projects, they become more realistic to kind of enact. So what we did, we originally had identified about $130 million in capital needs. And that's just replacing like for like. That's not doing anything like above the board. Certainly, total construction costs or total development costs are going to well exceed $130 million. Just to put it into perspective, the Rad Pilot Project that we performed last year, that was a $20 million project for 124 units. And we're looking at renovating around 2,700 total units. Our RAD 2 or Central City 1 project, that's a $60 million total development cost project. And that's 192 units. So we look to develop like the 7 to 10 year development pipeline. And we're in year 2 of that. And we are moving right along. We were one of the few projects, or our Central City 1 project was one of the few projects that was selected for the 4% tax credits. So I think that we're kind of on the right track here. And then because the Housing Authority is looking to self-develop, that means that a lot of the money that would otherwise go to external developers are kind of staying in-house in order to promote further development, further growth, and to aid in the funding of future projects. And on your screen here is an example of one of our properties that benefited from the rental assistance demonstration program. On the left there, you'll see Perry Avenue, which is in the county south area. You'll see some old T111 that's on the siding there, some roofs that aren't in great shape. And we were able to replace all of that kind of failing infrastructure there through the use of the RAD program, where we were at way past the end of the useful life for that community. We were then able to extend the useful life of that community for another 20 to 25 years. We spent about $2.2 million on this community alone. And this was only 10 units. So we were looking at a cost of around $220,000 per unit. And then these are some of our major accomplishments. So in March of 2021, we were able to complete our Section 18 disposition of our city properties. What the Section 18 disposition is that HUD allows you for units between 1 and 4 bedrooms to it sounds bad, but to remove that housing from public housing, and then to apply project-based Section 8 to those houses, which The main reason for that is that public housing, the funding is relatively low. And under project-based Section 8, the revenues are pretty close to fair market rate. And with those additional revenues, we can turn around and apply that revenue to the capital needs for these units so that we can maintain one, affordability, and two, habitability. We had quite a few single-family homes, duplexes, things of that nature that are in major need of capital repair, and this influx of capital will allow the Housing Authority and its nonprofit entity, Sharp, to really perform some of the much-needed capital work here. Riverview Plaza, we project-based that property as well, so we're increasing the revenues there, putting that project into a better financial position. So one, we can take care of some of the extensive capital needs, and two, we can put it into a really good position when we're looking to reposition this asset. And then other major milestone, we finished our Rad Pilot Project. So construction completed in June of this year. That was 124 units over 6 scattered sites. We were able to do that with, we were in the heart of a pandemic. We were able to temporarily relocate all of our families, get all of the construction done without evicting, with 0 evictions, 0 issues, 0 delays, and we were able to stay on budget, which is quite a miracle if you think about it. Actually starting a construction project right around when the pandemic was like well underway. But all of our families are happily rehoused. They are in there, and from what I've heard, we've heard nothing but positive feedback in regards to the work that's been done. We had 2 resident trainees graduate this year. That's year to date. We expect to have a few more graduate before the end of the year. We had 5 FSS participants graduate in 2021, which is awesome. That means that they have access to that escrow account, and they can begin really further their journey into self-sufficiency. And these last 2 stats are really, really key. Despite the pandemic, we were still able to maintain a 93% rent collection rate, which is huge because on average, you know, a private market, you're looking at 50 to 60% rent collection. And we did this without having to evict anybody for non-payment of rent. This was all through interacting with our residents, making sure that, you know, if they had income changes, that we were capturing them on time, and just really working with our families hand in hand as we're kind of moving through this really difficult time. And then our occupancy rate generally stays at around 90 to 100%, but we were able to maintain an average occupancy of 98% through last year, this year, and we're projecting to kind of stay at that 98% to 100% level in 2022. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much, Mark. I see Martin has his hand up, and then Barry.
Okay. Hey, Mark, great presentation. I'm really excited about the residential training program. I'm going to keep my comments brief. As I mentioned earlier, I am particular with my role. I work on workforce development, and I've been reaching out to some of my contacts. And what I'd like to do is, if you could reach out to me, please, set up a meeting where I can learn more about the program and see where I might be able to assist with helping people get more employment opportunities. So I think that's something you mentioned.
We would love to provide you with an opportunity.
So you have my contact information. Will you reach out through Vicky or Lyra?
Yes, yes, we will.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Mark, a quick question. The rent retention not rent retention, or it was, rent retention was at 93%. My question, the other 7%, are those tenants, if this, not to disclose anyone, but if, are those tenants that fall in that 7%, are they signed up for, or do you know if they're in the pipeline for the RPP, the rental protection program?
That's a great question. For those families that that kind of constitute that 7%, we do make sure that we're performing outreach to let them know that those resources are available, either through that rental protection program or through the ER Shra 2 program. We're making sure that they are well aware of resources that are available. It's not the vast majority of cases, but we do, like any other landlord, have families that may have chosen not to pay rent during this time because of the enforcement mechanism really isn't there or present. But we continue to perform outreach with those families to have them kind of understand, you know, what their current financial situation is, and you know what resources are available if they are experiencing difficulties paying their rent.
Thank you on that. And well, you already know, but just if anyone out there who doesn't know, as you stated, the Shra 2 program, for those, as any landlord, as you stated, will have tenants who will, okay, we're just not going to pay now, we're going to put this money elsewhere. From that workaround is, of course, going to the property manager and applying on behalf of those tenants. So that's why I asked. The Shra program, there's just so much information. That covers the entirety of Sacramento County, or is that just for the city of Sacramento, the Shra 2 program?
Entire county, city and county.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chair.
All right, any other questions? Okay, any public comment, Vicki?
No, there is not.
And Mark, you're still sharing your screen. Now we can see each other again. Okay, if there's no other comments, we will move ahead to the Executive Director's report.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a really good segue into the rental assistance program, because I just wanted to give an update in terms of where we are. As you know, we operate the Sacramento Emergency Rental Assistance Program for both the city and the county. Been working very, very hard to continue to do outreach into the community and to get funds out there to those landlords and tenants who really need assistance with their rent. So in terms of an update of how much money we have dispersed to date, and this is for both the city and county programs, we have dispersed $54 million, which is really remarkable when you think about the fact that we had to, you know, stand this entire program up, put all the parameters, do all of the computer programming, and then get all of those funds out as quickly as we could. So the staff has really just done a remarkable job, and I just really want to thank them for all of their hard work to continue to get these funds out. So there's a total of $96 million available, and 54 million has gone out. So we're even over that halfway mark. And we still have quite a bit of more time, but that's not the issue. Our issue is spending the money and getting it to the people who need it as soon as possible.
All right, thank you, Lachelle. Considering the time, I was going to say something, but I'll skip a report from the commission and open it up to items and questions of commissioners, if there's any left. Seeing none. Technical question. I didn't close the public hearing. Do I need to do that still, Vicki or Brad?
I'm not really sure. I would probably defer to Brad on where you can do it right now. I'm not sure.
Or do we accomplish that by adjourning? Public hearing is closed. We are adjourned. How's that? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.